They liked to pretend the royal arena was a place of beauty. They burned roses, crushed myrrh, and filled every corridor with perfume strong enough to make a grown man dizzy. But no fragrance in the world could hide the truth of what those walls absorbed. Beneath the sweetness, there lingered something older, something sour and metallic, the scent of fear. In the silent heart of Persepolis, a girl barely 15 knelt on a cold slab of polished stone while attendants brushed her skin with oils reserved for queens. They told her she was blessed. They told her the empire had chosen her. They said being brought before the King of Kings was the highest honor a woman could ever receive. She smiled out of obedience, but inside, she knew better. She understood the kind of honor that killed the soul long before the body. Her hands shook, not from the night wind whispering through the marble hallways, but from the secret she carried in her chest. She wasn't afraid of death. Death was simple. Quick, clean. It was what came before death that filled her with dread. The guards called her princess, though everyone knew titles meant nothing inside these chambers. To the man who awaited her, the man the world treated as a living god, she was nothing more than a distraction. A toy. A sacrifice shaped like a girl. And bodies never lie. Hers told her story clearly. Her spine bent as if under a weight she could not name. Her mouth pressed into a silent line tight enough to tremble. Her eyes, hollow, drained of youth, held the tiredness of a woman 4 decades older. She had stopped dreaming before she. Before we continue this descent into one of history's darkest royal courts, take a moment to help this small channel grow. Press the like button, subscribe, and stay with us as we uncover the truths empires tried to bury. To understand why a ruler revered as divine turned against his own blood, why he used fear like a weapon and devotion like a cage, we must go back to the beginning of his world, and to the birth of his madness. Xerxes entered history in 519 BC, born in a palace so enormous it touched the sky, inside an empire that stretched across 3 continents. The Persian realm under Darius I reached from the Indus to the edge of Greece, from Egypt's blazing deserts to the icy teeth of the Caucasus. 50 million souls bowed to his father's command. Darius ruled from halls carved with gold and stone, so magnificent that even the air seemed rehearsed before entering. When Xerxes was born, priests declared him no ordinary child. They said Ahura Mazda himself had chosen him, a living fragment of divine light. They didn't raise him like a boy. They sculpted him into a deity. At the Royal Academy of Susa, Zoroastrian magi repeated the same mantra until it fused with his bones: "You are the mirror of the divine. Your thoughts are sacred. Your will shapes the world." They never taught him philosophy. Never spoke of humility. They taught him obedience, not to others, but from others. His feasts, his ceremonies, even the way servants breathed in his presence reminded him daily that he was not human. At dawn, his name rose with the hymns. At meals, nobles tasted his food before he did, eager to die rather than let harm reach him. No one turned their back to him. No one dared look directly into his eyes. Respect and worship blurred until he could no longer tell the difference.
A boy raised as a god never learns compassion. Instead, he learns entitlement. Control. And Xerxes learned those lessons twice over, once from the Magi, and once from his mother. Atassa, daughter of Cyrus the Great, knew what royal blood could become. She had watched dynasties tear themselves apart, brothers strangling brothers, mothers turning their sons into pawns. She leaned close to Xerxes as he grew and whispered the truth she believed would save him: only total power guarantees survival, and Xerxes listened. That single idea twisted itself around his heart. He came to believe that love must be caged to be kept. Loyalty must be forced to be real. Fear was not cruelty, it was protection. By 20, when his father's death placed the crown upon his head, Xerxes believed the empire was his body, its people merely the veins that kept him alive. No province mattered more than another. No person mattered at all. They existed to obey. And from his very first days on the throne, blood followed him. His early rule was drenched in conquest. When Babylon rebelled, Xerxes crushed it with such cold precision that even his own generals looked away. Egypt was the first to feel the full weight of his fury. Temples crumbled beneath torches, sacred scrolls were destroyed, and scribes were impaled along the riverbanks as warnings carved into flesh. Rebels hung from stakes like broken silhouettes against the sunrise over the Nile. The message was unmistakable: defy Xerxes, and not even the gods you worship will come to your aid. But the true test of his godhood began when he turned toward the west, toward Greece. For Xerxes, the Greek campaign wasn't simply a military mission. It was a religious declaration. If he conquered Greece, he proved he was divine. If he failed, the illusion shattered. So he attempted the impossible. He ordered a bridge of ships to be chained together across the Hellespont so his army, nearly 1 million strong if Persian chroniclers are to be believed, could walk across the sea as if it were solid earth. But nature defied him. A violent storm tore the bridge apart as easily as snapping thread. And the God King did the unthinkable. He commanded his soldiers to whip the sea with iron chains, to beat the waves into submission as if punishing a living creature for daring to resist him. He threw shackles into the water and declared the ocean enslaved. To his followers, this was a display of divine wrath. To the rest of the world, it was unmistakable madness. After Salamis, the once unstoppable Persian fleet became a graveyard of burning ships. Plataea followed, carving the final wound. For the first time, Xerxes, raised as a living god, felt the sting of defeat. And when a man who believes he cannot die learns he can fail, he does not become humble. He becomes unhinged. When he returned to Persepolis in 479 BC, the empire no longer celebrated him. The feasts ended, the music stopped, and he withdrew from the world. Courtiers whispered that his eyes never rested, they scanned every shadow as if plotting spirits waited to strike. His punishments grew cruel and absurd. One wrong-colored tile cost architects their lives. Generals who dared to advise him were skinned alive. Yet the darkest change unfolded behind the towering walls of the royal women's quarters. Once a traditional harem, it mutated into a prison coated in marble and gold. Hundreds of concubines and enslaved girls lived there, guarded by eunuchs and watched by silence. Children born within remained nameless, recorded nowhere, treated as property of the God King. Years later, the palace guardian Mithridates revealed the truth. Xerxes' madness peaked when he became fixated on a girl of 12, an obsession that shattered what little humanity he had left. Behind those doors, power twisted into terror, and Persia's king became enslaved to his own darkness. The Persian Empire in those years carried a strange scent, part incense, part rot. It wasn't enemy blood that haunted the halls but the slow collapse of a civilization rotting from within. Xerxes did not rule alone. His power stood on courtiers who bowed beneath ceilings of gold while ignoring the darkness consuming their world. Their obedience was nothing but fear disguised as loyalty. Corruption had become a second religion. Nobles gained wealth from the king's depravity, priests declared his crimes divine, and court physicians hid every bruise with balms and silence. Even his older daughters were forced to prepare the younger ones for rituals no child should endure. In that twisted palace, survival meant surrender. By 466 BC, the elite feared not gods, but contamination, feared that Xerxes' madness would reach their own families. Artabanus formed a secret coalition. Their plan: kill the king during his nightly divine meditation. On August 4, 465 BC, they found Xerxes drenched in sweat, gripping an injured child. The illusion of godhood shattered. Artabanus struck first. The emperor's last words were, "But I am God." History later praised him. But beneath Persepolis, archaeologists found the truth: hundreds of tiny skeletons. Civilizations don't fall by swords. They fall when evil becomes normal.